Chapter 27:19. Therefore this sword of yours is a true divine sword. After you control it for a period of time, it will gradually grow along with you. And when it grows to my level one day, you will have to eliminate the tribulation for it and make it a true, supreme sword. The Black Shadow sighed with emotion as he said, Therefore this sword of yours is a true divine sword. After you control it for a period of time, it will gradually grow along with you. And when it grows to my level one day, you will have to eliminate the tribulation for it and make it a true, supreme sword. Eliminate the tribulation? Supreme sword? Chu Yang didn't understand. Simply put, the origin of the 9 tribulations sword is nothing more than a process of my tribulations. If you want to talk about it in more detail. I don't want to talk about it. Wait until you reach a certain level. Then you'll naturally understand. The shadow smiled. But I think I still don't understand what's going on. So, it's because of you that the 9 tribulation sword appeared in this world? That's why this kind of reincarnation appeared. That's why the 9 tribulations of each generation appeared. That's the simple explanation, right? And all this is because you encountered a tribulation that belongs to the sword, so your master wants to eliminate the tribulation for you? Chu Yang said. As he spoke, an indistinct emotion that was difficult to conceal arose spontaneously. There was also some anger that arose spontaneously. That's how it is. Because I discovered that in the 90,000 years of the 9 tribulation sword reincarnation, the so-called tribulations are actually true feelings. It was the true love between brothers. This isn't something that can be manipulated by anyone. This emotion shouldn't be manipulated by anyone. All of this makes me angry. He faced the Black Shadow and said in a deep voice, Every generation of the 9 tribulation sword master was a righteous man. They were all good men who valued friendship and righteousness. His brothers were also people who treated each other with sincerity. They had no selfish motives. But, for this so-called tribulation, the so-called mission of the 9 tribulations sword, they went through such an unforgettable internal strife. Although in the end they achieved perfection, but, is perfection really perfection? Are the wounds and painful memories from all these years really hard to make up for? I don't think so. This kind of manipulation is done by a kind of master. Chu Yang said sharply, I think these good men, they shouldn't have gone through such an experience. The Black Shadow was silent for a while. Then he said somewhat mockingly, How can you see the rainbow if you don't experience the storm? It's because of this world that there are such tortures. That's why you can call them good men at this moment. If he hadn't experienced anything before, how could he be considered a good man? As the saying goes, the times create heroes. That's the truth. Preposterous logic. What you said is only preposterous logic. A good man doesn't mean that he should be kept in the dark and be wantonly played by others. Chu Yang was somewhat angry. Kid, listen to me. You're walking into the wrong place. Don't let your anger blind you. This is my fate, but there are countless ways to get rid of my tribulation. Why do I have to create a group of experts like you? If my master were to help me get rid of this calamity, he would only need to turn his palm over. However, the reason why the 9 tribulation swords reincarnation mission appeared is because of your own fate. During this process I was never involved in anything. You're the one who's doing everything. Your success is your success. It has nothing to do with me. As for me, living in silence for so many years is a kind of grievance. It's just to help you walk on the path of great Tao. The Black Shadow was somewhat aggrieved. It's simply too unfair for me to sleep like this without saying a word. And everything is for you. Chu Yang said lightly, Is your master lonely? Does he want to train a few people to play with him? Lonely? Ah. The Black Shadow said lightly and mockingly, First, this process can be said to be a selection. And these people are not selected to relieve loneliness, but, for this world. This world needs someone to preside over it, someone to manage it, someone to punish evil and promote good, especially to get rid of calamities. You may think that my master, who created the 9 tribulation sword, only needs to blow a breath to destroy these present extraterrestrial demons. Why would he go through so much trouble? But these enemies, these calamities, to you must be faced personally. External forces to wipe them out by force will only add more calamities and tribulations. In the end, it will only treat the symptoms but not the root cause. Because in this world, all opponents are the other party's whetstones. If you defeat him, he's the whetstone. If he defeats you, you'll become the whetstone. You need such whetstones to make you stronger. And this is also the law, power of the universe since ancient times. If there's no whetstone, then the whole world will be filled with mediocre people. Do you know how many people there are in this world? The Black Shadow looked at Chu Yang and said lightly, "Do you know how many other places like the Nine Heavens continent and the Nine Heavens Imperial Court are in this universe? Between heaven and earth there needs to be order. And now, time and space are already in chaos. All kinds of transmigrations, intrusions and rebirths are common. So, there's even more need to reorganize and set things right. And as far as I know, you experts are the makers, executors and managers of order. Under this premise, any grievance, any sacrifice is worth it." The Black Shadow said, "I've only heard vaguely that in the coming years, a long time later, there will be a great calamity that belongs to all living beings in this world. Even my master and the others are actively preparing to deal with the arrival of this calamity. This is the common calamity of all living beings in the universe." The Black Shadow said heavily, "Do you understand? It's the whole universe. This is the fate of heaven and earth and also the fate of the universe. And my master wants to reverse this fate. But it's not enough with just him and a limited number of people. That's why there's your fate. You need to grow to a certain level before you can participate." "I don't understand, I still don't understand." Chu Yang was even more confused. "Or rather, I'm even more confused. I don't understand at all. What are you talking about? Just like you or your master wantonly manipulating living beings? It actually makes sense. Besides, is the fate of heaven and earth something that can be reversed by human strength?" The Black Shadow said lightly, "How do you know if you don't try?" He breathed a sigh of relief tiredly. "If you don't understand, then don't understand. Heaven and earth have their limits and human strength has their limits. When the time comes you'll understand everything." The Black Shadow smiled faintly. "I really have to go. I haven't seen my boss for many, many years. I should go and see him." The Black Shadow began to fade as if it was going to return to nothingness. Chu Yang's Nine Tribulations sword let out a reluctant sword cry. There was no trace of a mark, but it didn't mean that there was no connection at all. The Nine Tribulations sword obviously had too many feelings for the only one of its kind in this world. The Black Shadow turned his head and looked at the Nine Tribulations sword. It actually had a sense of familiarity. He said, "I believe that we'll meet again after some time. At that time we may have new companions. So you won't be lonely. You don't have to look forward to your master rising to a higher level." Seeing that the Black Shadow was really about to leave, Chu Yang hurriedly stopped him and said, "Then, where's my sword spirit?" The Black Shadow said lightly, "Sword spirit? That little phoenix? He has now found the path that he belongs to. There will be a day when you and he will meet again. You don't have to worry about him." Chu Yang's eyes were filled with longing. He said, "Right now I just want to know if the sword spirit is doing well." The Black Shadow looked up at the sky and said, "At that time you'll definitely know." Then a black shadow instantly flashed across the sky. In midair it suddenly appeared. Suddenly, it let out a loud sword cry that sounded like the roar of a dragon or a tiger. Faintly, a transcendent shadow flashed across the sky from east to west. It seemed as if the entire blue sky was split into two halves by that light shadow. At this point, the Black Shadow had completely disappeared. "Boss, what happened to you?" Tianji and the others gathered around and asked with concern. Nothing. I was just distracted." Chu Yang was a little absent-minded. He answered casually. In his heart he was still thinking about what the Black Shadow had said. All of this isn't the end. It's just the beginning. The calamity of all the creatures in the universe. What kind of calamity was that? What kind of calamity was that? Chu Yang thought for a long time but ultimately felt that there was only a fog in front of him. It turned out that the more he knew, the more he realized that he was actually so ignorant. Everyone was still in a daze. It might not be good for him to be the only one awake. When he woke up he realized that there were cheers all around him. Tianji and the others were cheering because Gu Duxing and the rest of the Nine Tribulations had all realized that their cultivation had suddenly increased by more than 10 times. An unprecedented feeling of mystery and confidence rose in everyone's hearts. It was as if as long as he wanted to, he could easily leave this world and go to an even vaster starry sky with just a thought. The final barrier of the Nine Heavens Imperial Court cultivators, the realm above the saint level, had all been broken through by these people. And the past 9 Tribulation Sword Masters also felt that they had stepped into a whole new realm. All of them were pleasantly surprised. And what the past 9 Tribulations brothers were cheering about was that their own bodies had undergone an earth-shattering change. Originally they had only come here as spirits. Due to some kind of opportunity they had become immortal golden bodies. Although their cultivation was extremely high and powerful, because they didn't have their physical bodies, the space for improvement was almost non-existent. However, just now, after that sword piercing the heavens and honoring the blazing sun of the east, everyone unexpectedly and clearly discovered that what they had lost all these years had actually been made up for. And it had been made up for even more. In front of them, a path to the heavens was gradually opening up, and it was incomparably clear. As long as they didn't give up and worked hard to continue walking, there would come a day when they would also walk into that universe. They would become indisputable experts. Perhaps one day in another book, I will open up this destiny of heaven and earth mentioned in this chapter. But it definitely won't be the next book. Chapter 2720. The East Emperor Demon Empress, the veteran members of the 9 Emperors and 1 Empress, as well as the people of the Purple Clouds, were also cheering. A total of 40 million heavenly demon army, an enemy that they couldn't contend against, was completely annihilated, and their side actually suffered 0 casualties. How could they not be happy? This was simply a miracle. Everyone was jubilant and discussing. Everyone was full of smiles and joy. Only Chu Yang was feeling the changes of the 9 Tribulation Sword. The 9 Tribulation Sword was now completely unified, and no traces could be seen anymore. But Chu Yang could feel that the 9 Tribulation Sword could only truly be completely controlled by him now. He could do as he pleased. He could change the size of the 9 Tribulation Sword into anything in the world with just a thought. In fact, he could even change it into whatever Chu Yang wanted it to be. Any weapon. He wouldn't be restricted by the restrictions of weapons or even anything else. Everything was so natural and mysterious. With a thought, Chu Yang kept the 9 Tribulation Sword from big to small into the 9 Tribulation Space. And when he came into contact with the 9 Tribulation Space again, he was surprised to find that his 9 Tribulation Space seemed to have undergone an earth-shaking change. The space was bigger, the spiritual energy was more abundant, and the purity was higher. In addition, the embryonic form of a small world was formed inside. Mountains and rivers, the sky and the earth, everything was there. Although it was still a very small world and was far from being comparable to the Great Thousand World, but, after all, this was also a world of its own. Chu Yang was surprised by this change and couldn't help but take a deep breath. Holding back the shock in his heart, he looked internally at himself. His cultivation should have improved by quite a bit, right? With one look he almost screamed. This was also because Chu Yang's cultivation was more stable after this change. Otherwise, he would have made such a big fuss during the process of looking internally. It would be strange if he didn't go crazy. Actually, it was no wonder that Chu Yang was so surprised. His improvement this time was really a little too big. He saw that his 9 dantians were densely filled with nebulas. As it rotated slowly, the sun, moon, and stars were all present, and there was only a corner of the skies. But it seemed that there was no end to it. At the most central position, a clearly visible Milky Way was already taking shape. Within the Milky Way there were already stars that were constantly blinking. The countless starlight belts in the distance were also flickering with a faint light. These were clearly 9 miniature worlds. These 9 worlds had already begun to produce spiritual energy on their own, and were gradually filling up. Other than being able to be absorbed from the outside world, it could also be produced from the inside, one could imagine. It wouldn't be long before the 9 small worlds were fully formed. Chu Yang tried to activate the 9 heavens divine technique. Suddenly, he felt that the spiritual chi of the 9 worlds had formed a storm in an instant. Then, it merged into one and rushed into the meridians of his body. He only needed a single thought to launch an attack. And the power that this attack could produce was absolutely enormous. It was something that Chu Yang didn't even dare to imagine before. Just a moment ago he actually made such astonishing progress, as if he was stepping into the clouds and reaching the heavens in a single bound. Chu Yang couldn't believe it. Even if it was a dream, this dream was too exaggerated. In the distance, black clouds once again filled the sky. The extraterrestrial demon's attack this time was actually much more powerful than before. It was truly overwhelming. Chu Yang remained calm and collected. He narrowed his eyes and looked over. Everything that was happening tens of thousands of miles away, no matter how big or small, entered his eyes. On the other side, a large flag stood tall. It was black with a red sun shining on it. The words on it were none other than the extraterrestrial demon imperial flag. In the distance, there were countless otherworldly demons coming from 8 different directions. They were advancing rapidly towards this place. And this was only a rough estimate. The most conservative estimate was that there were at least 1 billion of them. Evidently, the extraterrestrial demons had truly turned out in full force after learning about the disappearance of the ancient white fog at the 9 Heavens Imperial Court. They wanted to conquer and occupy the Nine Heavens Imperial Court in one fell swoop. The Heavenly Devil Army, which was coming from 8 different directions, soared into the sky and formed an extremely strange thing in the air. This thing wasn't the same as any known living thing in the Imperial Court. Therefore no one knew what it was exactly. The only thing that could be clearly confirmed was that it was the image of a monster with 8 heads. Accompanying that monster image was a ferocious aura that could devour heaven and earth, breaking through the air and arriving. 8 heads, long body. There was disgust in Chu Yang's eyes. What kind of monster is this? His strength seems to be quite strong? Yes, why does every head of this monster look like a hen's head? Chu Yang rolled his eyes and said, whatever, I don't know its name anyway. Besides, I'll just kill it next. Who cares what you are? I'll just call you a chicken serpent. Trash with the head of a chicken and the body of a snake. This name is very appropriate. As he spoke, Chu Yang's eyes widened. An unprecedentedly strong murderous intent surged and exploded. In the extraterrestrial demon army, there was a man in a yellow robe with the image of a scorching sun embroidered on his chest. He sat on a luxurious chariot with his eyes closed. This was the supreme emperor of the extraterrestrial demon clan, the almighty sovereign, the heavenly demon emperor, the security ruler, and his weapon was a heaven-measuring ruler. The celestial imperial court had a supreme sovereign, Master Cloud. The extraterrestrial demons also had a supreme sovereign, the security ruler. This security ruler was a rare peerless genius in the extraterrestrial demon clan for millions of years. Full of ambition, his cultivation had progressed by leaps and bounds since he was young. His original name was originally Security Shaoquan. However, ever since he used the heaven-measuring ruler, he felt that his original name was really petty. In addition, he felt that he was going to use this heaven-measuring ruler to order the whole world around him around. Therefore, he changed his name to Security Ruler Envoy. He thought that he was very awe-inspiring and high-class. At this moment, he knew that the white fog in the Nine Heavens Imperial Court had been broken. Now that the natural hazards had been eliminated, he was even more complacent and awe-inspiring. He felt from the bottom of his heart that this was simply heaven's will, heaven's will. This was heaven's greatest wish for the extraterrestrial demon clan to be fulfilled in his own hands. The place where the extraterrestrial demon clan originally lived had once again experienced a serious spatial collapse. The space that could be used for survival had shrunk even further. Therefore, the security ruler made up his mind and simply migrated the entire clan, turning out in full force. All of them came to the purple cloud heavens. They wanted to flatten the Nine Heavens Imperial Court with their superior military strength. This time, it was indeed all the forces of the extraterrestrial demon clan that had come. At the rear. They didn't even leave behind a single soldier or guard. They were determined to win this battle. In front of him there was another small altar. On it there was a strange-looking fellow. It was entrenched on top of it. Its lower body was like a snake, but there were 8 heads at the top, breathing in and out fog. This was the divine beast that the extraterrestrial demon clan had worshipped for millions of years. It was also the guardian of the extraterrestrial demon clan. One couldn't help but admit that a certain minister really had a gift for words. Because this thing's name was 8 Strange Great Snake. Although it was strange and different, their names were really similar. At this moment, it was advancing forward complacently. In his heart, the security ruler was really full of confidence. In the entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court, he was the only person he cared about and feared. Cloud Master was the only one. And now, Cloud Master was actually dead. He died from internal strife. This is really... Heaven is helping me. Master Yun's cultivation is about the same as mine. Moreover, he has an extremely miraculous life-saving martial art. If we were to fight against him, the best outcome would be that both of us would be heavily injured and die together. Of course, I would have to die. However, Master Yun has a life-saving martial art. There's a very high chance that he'll be able to escape from death. Therefore, I never dared to come to the Nine Heavens Imperial Court easily. But it was different this time. Cloud Master was dead. Cloud Master was actually dead. Waha! I heard that it was because of that miraculous technique that Cloud Master cultivated that consumed a lot of lives. It wasn't tolerated by those gentlemen in the Imperial Court and brought about a fatal disaster. Those idiots in the Imperial Court actually destroyed their own Great Wall. Didn't they know that all living beings were ants that should serve those in power? If not for Cloud Master guarding the Imperial Court for millions of years, I would have long been able to rule the Imperial Court and rule the world. Now that Cloud Master is dead, I no longer have any opponents. Even if the East Emperor Demon Empress appears, it won't be difficult to get rid of her. There will be no more obstructions in entering the imperial court. Looks like even heaven is looking after us extraterrestrial demons. When he thought of this, Ambassador and Bey wanted to laugh out loud to vent the joy in his heart. Because there was nothing more satisfying than this. As for the accident just now, when the thunder tribulation of heaven and earth broke out unexpectedly, 40 million demon soldiers were killed, and the 8 heavenly demon kings were also killed. Although Commander and Bey was shocked, he didn't take it too seriously. How could there be no sacrifices in war? How could one not pay a considerable price to occupy this beautiful world of the 9 heavens imperial court? As for the explosion of the lightning tribulation, that was just an accident. Natural disaster. Losing 40 million in a natural disaster didn't matter. On the contrary, if the lightning tribulation didn't erupt, it would be a threat. Even if it did, at least it wouldn't happen again in a short period of time. As long as it wasn't an accident that could threaten him, there was no problem. What he needed to consider now was the other party's current combat power. He heard that there were many pinnacle experts gathered there. The East Emperor Demon Empress had already appeared for battle, and there were also the other 9 Thearchs and 1 Empress. Almost all of them were here. Yes, so what if all the pinnacle experts were here? So what if the East Emperor Demon Empress, the 9 Thearchs and 1 Empress were all here? As long as the 8 Wonders Great Gods appeared, they would be swallowed whole. He really didn't expect that the 8 Wonders Great Gods would actually be willing to take action personally this time. Once the 8 Wonders Great Gods of the 8 Wonders Great Gods appeared, there was no enemy that couldn't be destroyed. This was really another unexpected surprise. The 9 Thearchs and 1 Empress, these veteran experts of the imperial court, were all idiots. When such a great war of the century was coming, they actually didn't gather the military forces of their territories and only gathered a few pinnacle experts to come here with the intention of stopping the advance of my heavenly demon army. The only reason was to prevent the loss of the civilians in the imperial court. How stupid and idiotic they were. Chapter 27-21. Even if these people could hold back the army for a short while, they would also all die here because they were alone. The 9 heavens imperial court, which had lost these pinnacle battle powers, would quickly fall into the hands of the heavenly demon clan. It looked like the heavens were really protecting the extraterrestrial demon clan. Otherwise, how would the imperial court's side be forced to make such foolish moves? A certain emperor was marching forward, thinking about his hegemony for thousands of years. Suddenly, the 8 Wonders Great God in front of him suddenly stood up, and his miniature body suddenly straightened. His small eyes shone with bewilderment, and he seemed to be at a loss for what to do. 8 Great God, what's wrong with you? Although Commander and Bey was the heavenly emperor of the heavenly demon clan, he still had to grovel and curry favor with this beast in front of him. Because the 8 Great God hated people being rude to him the most? But why would the 8 Great God make such a shocking move? That uncertain look in his eyes had already completely revealed his current state of mind. In Commander and Bey's mind, the 8 strange Great God was the most powerful existence in this world. Any of his 8 special abilities had earth-shattering and earth-shattering powers. But what kind of change could actually make such a powerful existence like the 8 Great God panic like this? A voice condensed from divine consciousness sounded with uncertainty. Could it be that the other side has another unparalleled expert in hiding? What kind of aura is this? Why is it so dangerous? Unparalleled expert? Commander and Bey was stunned. That's impossible. In the entire 9 heavens imperial court, the one with the highest cultivation is only that Master Yun. Other than that, there's no other expert who can face us. Our spies in the heavenly imperial court sent news just a few days ago. Guru Yun is dead now, and it's his death that caused the white fog to vanish. He sneered disdainfully in his heart. Beasts will always be beasts. No matter how much you feed them, they're still beasts. They actually got scared before the battle because they don't even know if there's a threat. No, that's impossible. My ability can't be wrong. Fear and wariness flashed in the eyes of the 8 strange great snake. This murderous aura, this divine consciousness, far surpasses mine. This is too powerful. This is too bad. Murderous aura far surpasses yours? Spiritual sense? Ambassador and Bey was stunned. How is that possible? It must be an illusion. It was impossible to tolerate such a person. This is absolutely impossible. You are already the ultimate existence in this world, and there is absolutely no power that can surpass you. Hearing these words, Octatic Orochi nodded. He said, what you said makes sense. Indeed, existence as stronger than me would not linger in this world. He sensed it carefully again and confirmed that the murderous aura had completely disappeared. He slowly relaxed and thought, could it be the might of the heavenly tribulation just now? That's right, it must be the might of the heavenly tribulation. Otherwise, why would I feel so creeped out? Only this kind of power can exist. Only then would I be so shocked and unable to resist. As for humans, you can't threaten me at all. The celestial demon army was like a black cloud that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. Mixed with boundless haze, they continued to march forward. On this side, Chu Yang had already turned around indifferently and said, the main forces of the heavenly demons have all come out. Right now they are thousands of miles away and will be here soon. Dong Wuxiang and Luo Kudi laughed and immediately stood up. The battle just now was inexplicable and the victory was inexplicable. We didn't release our fighting spirit at all. Since the enemies are coming, we might as well go and kill them. Let's go now. The inexplicable increase in strength this time filled everyone with confidence. Moreover, all the 9 tribulation sword masters and all the brothers of the 9 tribulations had a considerable increase in strength this time. Now, even the weakest among them was not inferior to say Jian Shanren. As for Chu Yang and the others, they had already surpassed the limits of this world. With such strength, it was naturally easy to deal with the heavenly demons. In the face of absolute strength, there was no suspense at all even if there was a huge difference in numbers. Intercepting the celestial demon army head-on was an extremely crazy thing to do just now. But now it was not a big deal. At least, everyone had this kind of confidence. The reason was obvious. This is not good. Mo Tianji pondered and said, we can't choose to intercept them head-on for now. We have to stop them from advancing first and wait for our reinforcements to arrive. Then we can talk about annihilating them. What? Everyone was baffled. Victory was already in their hands. Why did they have to use such a roundabout method? Was there any more meaning to it? If we really wipe out the celestial demon army in one go and wipe them out, then it might not be a good thing for the 9 Heavens Imperial Court. Mo Tianji said, the 9 Heavens Imperial Court still needs to fight and enemies. What kind of logic is this? I don't understand. Many people shook their heads. This time they really did not understand. Everyone's main purpose of gathering here was to wipe out the celestial demons and quell the demon threat. Now that they had the ability to do so, why did they say that completely wiping out the demon threat was not a good thing? If this was not a good thing, then what was? The strategists of the 9 tribulations lowered their heads and thought for a while. They actually agreed, yes, the 9 Heavens Imperial Court does need such a war. Everyone was even more baffled by this argument. Because we have already started the Holy War. And there are already reinforcements on the way. We need to let the descendants of the 9 Heavens Imperial Court really grow up in this war. We can't just rely on the few of us and the strength of some experts to resolve this war. Chu Yang said softly, doing this may be a little cruel, but we have no other choice. It's like a pair of parents to their children. Actually, the parents have the ability to solve all the problems that the children have to go through. But they can't. They can only let the children do it on their own. Because, after everything is done for them, their lives will be over. Other than becoming a good-for-nothing, they will become a good-for-nothing. It's the same this time too. Besides, the 9 Heavens Imperial Court needs heroes now, and we are no longer suitable for the identity of heroes. Chu Yang looked at Xue Leihan and said softly, Brother Xue, I can feel that not long after this war we will be leaving this place. And all of you are obviously tired of power. To you, power is just a burden. Xue Leihan's expression was heavy. He sighed. That's right. Someone raised an objection. But won't doing this cause too many casualties? Don't you think it's too cruel? You must know that a war like this will cost the lives of millions of soldiers. Since there's a way to reduce casualties, why give up what's near at hand and seek what's far away? Everyone was silent on this point. Yes, the consequences of doing this would definitely be very cruel. However, this battle was imperative. Otherwise, after Chu Yang and the rest left, Xue Leihan and the rest would also retire. Although there would be a period of peace in the 9 Heavens Imperial Court, it would definitely be accompanied by disasters afterward. Because at that time, it would be equivalent to the Imperial Court being stripped of its bones. Without bones, even if it was a giant, there was only one path, which was to fall down forever. Without Chu Yang and the Demon Empress, the 9 Heavens Imperial Court needed new heroes to rise. This was the need of the era and also the guarantee of the Imperial Court. The times create heroes and heroes also create the times. What we can do now is to reduce their casualties, but we can't completely prevent them from dying. Mo Qinji's expression was heavy. He pondered and said softly, "But this kind of sacrifice must be made by them. This victory must also be fought for by them." Everyone's expression was very heavy. Although many people already understood why, there were still many people who did not understand it. And this kind of confusion would only be understood many years later. It was this seemingly unrestrained war that left behind such precious spiritual wealth for the entire Nine Heavens imperial court. And those things couldn't be exchanged even with millions of sacrifices. Amidst the silence, Chu Yang said, "The higher-ups of the extraterrestrial demons will take them." The brothers looked at each other and smiled, full of confidence. Chu Yang thought of 3 words, whetstone. And what the blood of yellow flame said, "Without a whetstone, the world is full of mediocre people." Next, Mo Qinji went to set up the formation and completed the final key. And Chu Yang and the rest of the 9 Tribulations brothers, as well as the previous sword masters, started to rise and rush to the front, starting to affect the advance of the extraterrestrial demons. The army of extraterrestrial demons was advancing when suddenly, someone shouted in panic, "What's that?" All the extraterrestrial demons looked over and couldn't help but shudder. In front of them, there were a few unbelievably powerful tornadoes coming from the ground. They actually spanned across the entire land, whistling as they came and went. The vanguard of the extraterrestrial demons was attacked directly by the tornadoes and was actually swept up. In the air, no matter what kind of experts they were all torn into pieces without exception. And in the distant sky, the sound of thunder could be heard faintly. Purple lightning filled the vast sky. An extremely oppressive feeling of heaven and earth was clearly felt. "Stop advancing." This time it was 8 Strange Serpent who gave the direct order. This creature was the most sensitive to this kind of heaven and earth crisis. There's an unpredictable change in heaven and earth ahead. If we force our way through, I'm afraid we'll all be wiped out. Don't act rashly. Ambassador and Beiqi thought deeply and immediately gave the order. The army of extraterrestrial demons immediately stopped advancing and waited for orders. Fortunately, that terrifying tornado had only swept away a few 100,000 people who were closest to the vanguard, and it did not continue to extend over. All the extraterrestrial devils could not help but heave a sigh of relief when they saw this situation. This wait lasted for 3 days and 2 nights. Happy face. Chapter 27-22. The first wave of Heavenly Demon Camp's newest troops was another type of Heavenly Demon tribe, Earth Demons. Earth Demons were different from flying demons. They could fly in the sky and were used for ground combat. However, they were also different from ordinary Heavenly Demon Horde. Ordinary Heavenly Demon Horde was just a group of cannon fodder that won with numbers, but Earth Demons were the trump card for ground combat. The Earth Demons were huge in size and possessed immense strength. Any Earth Demon would at least have the strength of a Heaven Stage Master, but if they were to fight against a normal Heaven Stage Master from Tian-Ke, the Earth Demons would definitely win. Aside from their great strength, the Earth Demons had another advantage, and that was their exceptionally tough bodies. Normal blades, swords, fists, and palms would find it difficult to injure them. To break through their defenses, one would have to be at least a minor level stronger than the Earth Demons. The Heavenly Demon Emperor had put in a lot of effort and capital in order to defeat the enemy. He wanted to finish the job in one battle. A dark mass of strange shapes and sizes. To be safe, apart from sending out the Earth Demon army, countless monsters also appeared in the Heavenly Demon camp this time. Due to the participation of Yamada no Orochi in this battle, under his strong pressure, many monsters on the Heavenly Demons side had no choice but to join the Heavenly Demons battle formation, even though they were unwilling. This time they cooperated with the Earth Demons army, and their power was even stronger. Speaking of the monsters on the Heavenly Demon camp's territory, they really lived up to the word strange. They were really strange in all shapes and sizes. However, this was because the Heavenly Demon camp's territory had a harsh environment. It was hard to find good mountains and rivers. In such an environment, if they wanted to survive, they had to adapt to their environment. He had to adapt to the environment with his own body. It would be strange if he still looked good. However, it was natural selection that allowed the fittest to survive. Creatures that could survive in such a harsh environment on the Heavenly Demon camp's territory had an essential characteristic. They were strong. The combat force formed by countless Heavenly Demon camp's monsters was also a trump card of the Heavenly Demon camp. This combat force was definitely not to be underestimated. Seeing that the Heavenly Demon camp was already moving. On the 9 Heavens Imperial Court side, a bugle horn sounded. With a long howl, the wind and clouds between heaven and earth suddenly surged. Under Wu Shang's blade, Only death and no injuries. Dong Wuxiang personally led the Middle Extreme Heavens army to meet the enemy. Emperor Wuxiang personally took action. Personally leading an expedition, this was a huge boost to the morale of Middle Heavens warriors. Everyone's blood was boiling and their morale was greatly boosted. Dong Wuxiang and Mo were both celestial emperors. One day later, they were the best emperor and empress couple that shone before Zihao and his wife back then. The two of them were far ahead, taking the lead. Yao Yao was far ahead. Dong Wuxiang held the black saber in his hand, and a boundless domineering aura that filled the sky suddenly erupted and surged out. Everyone had a feeling that with him in the front, they might not even notice the thousands of soldiers behind him. Just him alone was already a mountain that was destined to be insurmountable. It was blocked. It attracted everyone's attention. All attention. Behind him, Li Xiongtu's expression was complicated. Finally he sighed sadly. He could sense that the current Dong Wuxiang had already far exceeded the level that he could understand. To Li Xiongtu, Dong Wuxiang had always been the goal that he was chasing, and also the motivation for his courageous improvement. Before this, although Dong Wuxiang was strong, far stronger than Li Xiongtu, and the two of them were almost incomparable, Li Xiongtu had already sensed one thing, and that was that Dong Wuxiang seemed to have reached a bottleneck. This bottleneck was not Dong Wuxiang's own bottleneck, but a restriction that belonged to the entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court. Under this restriction, no one could take another step forward, such as Master Yun. He had been at the peak for a long time, but still could not break through this restriction and take another step forward. Therefore Li Xiongtu had never despaired and felt that the distance between him and Dong Wuxiang was really not very far. But as long as he worked hard enough, there would be a day when he could be on par with Dong Wuxiang, and even defeat him. All along, catching up to Dong Wuxiang, defeating him had been Li Xiongtu's greatest wish. It was also his lifelong pursuit. But now, at this moment, at this place, he had this kind of feeling. No matter how hard he worked, catching up to Dong Wuxiang had already become an extravagant hope. The distance between the two of them was already completely unreachable, or perhaps it was the difference in the levels of the planes. The two of them were already fundamentally different. This unique feeling of quantitative change and qualitative change made him feel helpless and helpless. From this day onwards, it had actually truly extinguished Li Xiongtu's desire to catch up to Dong Wuxiang. Perhaps one day I can also climb to the peak and even catch up to him at the peak. But by the time I catch up to him, he will already be long gone from this world. He will have gone to a wider world and I will ultimately be unable to catch up to him. The ultimate peak of the Saber Dao belongs only to Dong Wuxiang. In this Nine Heavens Imperial Court, I will definitely not be able to catch up to him. Li Xiongtu strode forward, charging towards the extraterrestrial demons. For a moment, his heart was in turmoil. Unexpectedly, another clear thought rose in his mind. So, there really is a higher level of existence above and below this starry sky. Right at this moment, a sharp voice rang out from the opposite side. I am the master of the earth demons. Tanaka Kogo. Who are you? Tell me your name. Dong Wuxiang let out a long howl and shouted, I am your ancestor Dong Wuxiang. Come, let me see your dog head. You Tanaka Kogo. Tanaka Kogo was enraged. Bastard. I am Tanaka Kogo, not a dog. Motherfucker, you don't even know how to speak properly. Calling you a dog is mocking other people's dogs. Dong Wuxiang said disdainfully. Suddenly his saber slashed down. The sharp saber aura that had been hidden all this while suddenly surged out violently at this critical moment. This saber aura was as long as 1,000 feet, overflowing with a golden glow, incomparably dazzling. This sudden saber strike seemed as if it was going to split the blue sky into two as well. This Tanaka Kogo was shocked to see such a domineering saber strike. In his inexplicable shock, he finally reacted and shouted. The hook in his hand transformed into countless yellow lights as he desperately tried to block the attack, hoping to escape death. However, the reality was really cruel. But after a dang sound, the attack landed. However, with a clang, that hook broke into two the moment it came into contact with the saber aura. Then the saber aura instantly broke the hook, and the remaining force did not diminish at all. It directly slashed down from the forehead, from the head to the neck, to the chest, to the abdomen, and finally to that thing. The entire body was directly split into two vertically, very symmetrically. The physical body was instantly annihilated, and a certain Kogo's soul left the body wanting to escape. It tried to renew its life, but the golden saber aura on Dong Wuxiang's saber immediately shone brightly again. It actually absorbed that Kogo's soul completely, turning it into nothing and turning it into smoke. A dignified heavenly demon king, the lord of earth demons under Dong Wuxiang's saber. He actually did not even finish a single move before his body and soul was destroyed. He was doomed eternally. Dong Wuxiang waved his saber and shouted, "Lord of earth demons? That's all there is to it. Indeed, trash that is not even comparable to a dog. Kill." After saying that, he took the lead and charged into the enemy's formation, starting a massacre and slaughtering the demons. Behind him, millions of Middle Pole Heaven soldiers and horses. They saw Heavenly Emperor destroying the demon's body with a single move, and the remaining force destroying his soul. They even charged into the crowd of earth demons like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Their aura was even more invigorated, and they charged into the crowd of earth demons with a ferocious attitude as if they were about to go crazy. The Lord of Earth Demons was instantly annihilated, and he was already dead. The earth demons simply did not dare to believe this shocking fact before their eyes. They were at a loss and were at a loss like a group of dragons without a leader. It was a complete mess, and they suddenly encountered such a crazy attack from such a powerful army. Even though their own strength was tyrannical, they no longer had the heart to fight. They only had the thought of escaping with their lives intact. They scattered and fled in all directions and their formation collapsed. It was really a complete defeat and there was no turning back. To be fair, the army of Middle Pole Heavens that went to war this time was the most elite army of Middle Pole Heavens, but their actual strength might not be above the army of Earth Demons. If the two sides were to fight normally, Middle Pole Heavens would definitely be at a disadvantage. But this situation was special. The Lord of Earth Demons was defeated and killed by Heavenly Emperor Wuxiang of Middle Pole Heavenly Emperor in one move. This result was too unexpected and incomparably shocking. Because their leader died so abruptly, how could the Earth Demons under his command not be terrified? Even their great master was not a match for one move of the other party, and with their little bit of weight, the other party could probably kill them with just a breath. With this thought in mind, how could they not escape? Dong Wuxiang and Mo Lei together wantonly rampaged through the enemy's formation. All the enemy experts that were exposed to their eyes were all destroyed like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. First, it was the generals of the Earth Demon Horde. The marshal-level commanders were all killed neatly one by one, as if their names were being called out. Next, they targeted the leaders of each army of 10,000 people. Occasionally they would also kill them along the way. Then, those were the ordinary experts hidden among the troops. Given Dong Wuxiang's current cultivation, strength, and divine senses, no matter how these extraterrestrial demons tried to hide, it was meaningless. With just a glance he could see everything clearly. He did not even need to blow. With just a glance he could kill a heavenly demon general. This kind of battle was really easy to the extreme and he was always at a disadvantage. Of course, in the hearts of the ordinary soldiers of the Nine Heavens Imperial Court, other than feeling that great Emperor Wuxiang was invincible and mighty, they did not have much of a relaxed feeling. Even though the Earth Demon Horde's fighting spirit was already high, this was still a battle to the death. There were casualties on both sides. With just a single clash, there were already countless severed limbs scattered on the ground. The Middle Heaven soldiers could still personally feel how difficult it was to deal with the Earth Demon Horde's heavenly demons, as well as the strength of their physical bodies, as well as the sharpness and tenacity of their dying counterattacks. Even though the Earth Demon Horde's fighting spirit had collapsed and their fighting spirit was even more lacking, their instincts to save themselves at the critical moment of life and death still allowed the Earth Demon Horde to counterattack considerably. Especially when the Middle Heaven soldiers' killing moves were about to reach them, the Earth Demon Horde's most fatal counterattack would follow. Almost every time an Earth Demon Horde member was killed, a Middle Heaven soldier would be injured, crippled, or killed. But even so, the moment they defeated the enemy, the self-confidence and satisfaction in their hearts increased even more. Apart from Dong Wuxiang and the rest, no one else knew that if Dong Wuxiang and the rest hadn't killed all the heavenly demon generals in the Earth Demon Membrane army, what kind of shocking number of casualties would have risen to now. The truth of the battle now was almost equivalent to Dong Wuxiang shouldering more than 90% of the pressure on himself. Such a battle had never happened since ancient times. It had never happened before. This was also the countermeasure that Chu Yang and the rest had discussed. After this battle, all the people who participated in the battle returned alive. They would all become the heroes of the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. And such a heroic concept and appeal would be preserved in the Nine Heavens Imperial Court for a long time. At the very least, it could be maintained for a considerable period of time. And these people would become the spiritual pillars of the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. This would be the last bit of strength that Chuyang and the rest could do for this world. Although doing so would definitely be accompanied by sacrifices, a lot of sacrifices. But compared to the original sacrifice of the entire battle, it had already been reduced by 1,000,000 times. The situation of the battle was obvious. It had only been Emil's time, but the Earth Demon army was already on the verge of collapsing, and there were even demons that had begun to flee. Ambassador and Beiqi couldn't help but frown. He naturally wasn't willing to let the situation continue to deteriorate. Immediately, a decree was passed down, and the Fire Demon army in another direction moved with a rumble, rapidly and frantically pressing towards this side of the battlefield. The Fire Demon army was another valiant race among the heavenly demon races, and their current movements were very obvious. They were rushing to the aid of the Earth Demon Horde, intending to salvage the situation of the Earth Demon Horde's total defeat, and set things right. And even counterattack the middle extreme heavenly army, turning defeat into victory. But how could their movements escape Mo Tianji's calculations? But at this moment, Mo Tianji's central army waved its flag and Gu Duxing roared. The Western Skies army rushed out like a tide, intercepting the Fire Demon army. Gu Duxing was alone with his sword, man and sword as one. The Black Dragon sword was like a flying black dragon, flashing the most resplendent sword light in the air. And this incomparably resplendent sword light illuminated the Fire Demon army. This battle continued for no less than a day and night, an entire day and night. On the Nine Heavens Imperial Court side, the various forces of the heavenly demons took turns going into battle. On the opposite side, the 8 great tribes of the heavenly demons and the magical beast army also took turns, killing until the heavens were worried and the earth was miserable and blood flowed like a river. Until the early morning of the second day, both sides withdrew their troops. It's just that their auras were very different. On the Nine Heavens Imperial Court side, it could be said that they returned triumphantly and complacently, while the heavenly demon's side was deathly silent. Even the heavenly demon Heavenly Emperor and Bei was shocked to the point of speechlessness. Looks like the other side was actually prepared for battle. Moreover, their strength still far surpasses ours. 8 Strange Great Serpent had somewhat waning interest in this current situation. He said, "Be prepared, otherwise we can only withdraw for the time being. Although the environment over there is vile, it's stable. I believe the space can still be maintained for a period of time. Purple Cloud Heavens is still in our hands, and being content in a corner is still possible. If we continue to fight like this, I'm afraid your heavenly demon race will be completely obliterated from this world." Heavenly Emperor and Bei silently nodded. The discomfort in his heart at this moment was really incomparable. Of course, the current situation was as such, but being exposed in front of others was another matter altogether. It was really too tragic, too depressing, too disgusting. Originally, when he first came here, he was full of excitement and confidence, thinking that everything was in his hands and victory was within his grasp. Who would have thought that when he arrived here, he would come face to face with a terrifying reality that he didn't even dare to dream of? Cloud Shangren was indeed dead. However, the current strength of the Nine Heavens Imperial Court's peak experts had actually already surpassed Cloud Shangren. In fact, it was more than just a level higher. Wasn't this just toying with them? Especially when this battle was against their entire race. The Heavenly Imperial Court had turned out in full force. In the face of such combat strength and such a result, it was truly even more difficult for him to accept. However, he had to accept it even if he didn't want to. The cruel reality was right in front of him. Stubbornly holding on and not retreating? Then there would really only be total annihilation. Although the other side's experts hadn't really engaged in a head-on battle for the time being, Heavenly Emperor and Bei could already tell that any one of the few young experts that the other side sent out was stronger than him, the kind that was much stronger. Even if the 8 Wonders personally took action, they would at most be able to fight against one of them. If he wanted to fight against 2 of them alone, that was practically courting death. Even his chances of escaping were very slim. In the face of such a powerful enemy, Heavenly Emperor and Bei was full of dejection. He no longer had any fighting spirit or will to fight. He originally thought that victory was certain this time. All he had to do was to take down the enemy, take over the entire Heavenly Imperial Court and rule the world. However, he never thought that, he actually still underestimated his opponent. That's true. The entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court's population is no less than 100 billion. How can the mere few billion of our Heavenly Demon clan compare to it? Forget it, forget it. It's better to be content with a corner than to have our entire race wiped out. Heavenly Emperor and Bei's face was full of dejection. He was just about to give the order to retreat. However, suddenly, right at this moment, the sky suddenly shook violently. As if something huge had happened at this moment. The entire sky actually started to shake violently at this moment. Furthermore, a ball of purple suddenly appeared and shot up into the sky, filling the entire firmament. As if it had encountered some huge impact. Even Chu Yang and the others were baffled by this sudden turn of events. This was because the entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court, regardless of the region, the mountains, plains, lakes, or valleys, all of them experienced an earthquake at this moment. Especially at Purple Cloud Heaven's side, the tremors were the most severe. Almost all the mountain ranges within a radius of tens of thousands of miles had ruptured to varying degrees. This earth-shattering and violent disaster of heaven and earth caused everyone to be inexplicably shocked. They completely couldn't understand what exactly was going on. How could there be such a huge commotion? In the camp of the heavenly demons. Heavenly Emperor and Bei and the Eight Wonders Great Serpent shuddered at the same time and violently spat out a mouthful of blood. The demon and the serpent looked at each other and saw the endless panic in each other's eyes, as well as a kind of indescribable despair. This was because there was only one situation that could cause both of them to spit out blood at the same time even though they weren't injured. That was, something had happened to the origin of their godly consciousness that they had left on the planet where the heavenly demons lived. However, there was also only one situation that could cause their godly consciousness to completely collapse like this. That was, the planet had exploded. The space had collapsed. In other words, the base camp of the extraterrestrial demons had completely ceased to exist now. This was originally within their expectations, but it just so happened that they had no way forward and had just decided to retreat. This unforeseen event undoubtedly made things worse. It was like adding hail to the snow. It also caused the demon and the serpent to feel endless despair at the same time. They couldn't charge forward at all. According to the current situation of the battle, charging forward was simply equivalent to courting death. Since they couldn't advance, they had to retreat. However, there was already no way out now, because their path of retreat was cut off. 3 years of arrogance, a million brothers battling the winds and clouds, soaring into the sky, a sword leaving dust behind, a sword spirit passed down through the ages in the martial world. Chapter 27-23. He believed that the small number of sky devils who had stayed on the heavenly devil planet would have no chance of surviving even 1 in a billion as the planet completely exploded and collapsed. There was no way to advance or retreat. The affairs of the world were indeed fickle. From the time when they were in high spirits and complacent, everything was under their control, to the present situation where they had no way to advance or retreat and could face annihilation at any time, the situation of the entire clan being annihilated had changed in just a few days. What should we do? What should we do now? Ambassador and Bei was at a loss for a moment. He lost his composure and muttered, "Eighth Great King, you must save our heavenly demon clan." The 8 hens of the 8 strange serpents swayed furiously at the same time. "I also want to save your heavenly demon clan, but, at this moment, who is going to save me?" The collapse of the rear meant that their home was finished and their retreat was blocked. The higher-ups of the heavenly demon clan also sensed this. Their faces were pale and filled with despair. The news spread across the entire celestial devil camp in a very short time. Without a doubt, the celestial devil army's morale plummeted to rock bottom in just as short a time after the shock. Mo Qianji, who had been paying attention to the movements of the heavenly demon army, discovered the sudden collapse of the heavenly demon army without any difficulty. Although he didn't know the reason yet, he obviously realized that there was no time to lose. He waved his hand and said, "All troops attack." In the battle that lasted for an entire day and night, almost all the reinforcements from the Nine Heavens Imperial Court had arrived. In other words, not only was the Imperial Court's combat power far superior to the heavenly demons in terms of high-end combat power, but the number of ordinary combat power was also not inferior to the enemy. At this moment, the heavenly demon army unexpectedly collapsed. It could be said that this was the best time to launch an all-out attack. At Mo Qianji's command, the Nine Heavens Imperial Court's experts rushed forward like an avalanche. Mo Qianji, Chu Yang, Mo Qingwu and the others rushed at the front. They left their own army far behind. Chu Yang and the others' original intention was to train and create new heroes, but if they could reduce unnecessary casualties, they still had to try their best. For example, facing the ordinary heavenly demons could naturally be left to the Imperial Court. As for the high-end combat power of the heavenly demons, they still had to be dealt with by themselves. 10 figures charged into the heavenly demon army like shooting stars. The resistance they encountered along the way was actually minuscule. Compared to the previous battle, it seemed to be 10,000 times easier. It seemed that all the high-level extraterrestrial demons had lost their will to fight at this moment. It was more or less equivalent to waiting to be killed. Jianghu charged all the way. Wherever the 9 tribulation swords edge passed, all the heavenly demons disintegrated and were instantly annihilated. At this moment, a long-lost feeling suddenly came. That is? In addition to his own feelings, Jianghu also felt that the 9 tribulation sword was also transmitting a feeling of happiness. Who else was there in this world? What else was there? Can it affect me and the 9 tribulation sword at the same time? The next moment, Jianghu felt that there seemed to be one more person beside him. Turning his head, he saw an unfamiliar yet familiar middle-aged man in green looking at him with a smile. I originally wanted to lend you a hand, but I didn't expect that I wouldn't be needed. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have made this trip. Hearing this, Jianghu was stunned. Then he was overjoyed. Sword Spirit. The azure-robed middle-aged man looked unfamiliar yet felt familiar. His body had completely solidified. It was the incarnation of the Sword Spirit that he hadn't seen in a long time. In this last battle in the 9 Heavens Imperial Court, the long-lost Sword Spirit finally returned. Once again he fought side by side with Jianghu. I haven't had the time to congratulate you. Lord Swordmaster has improved so quickly. You have greatly exceeded my expectations. The Sword Spirit smiled. You still have the cheek to say that. You disappeared the moment you left. How long have you been gone? Why haven't I heard from you at all? Have you been there all this time? Have you found the path that belongs to you? Jianghu was overjoyed. As he fought, he asked the Sword Spirit a number of questions in a row. I have found the path that belongs to me. This is all thanks to Lord Swordmaster's reminder that made me realize it. The Sword Spirit smiled and said, as for where I have been all this time. Actually, you know it. You have been there before. Jianghu was instantly confused. A place that I know? A place that I have been to? Where is it? That's impossible. The Sword Spirit laughed. Don't say that it's impossible. Not only have you been there, we have even met. Jianghu was even more confused. That's really impossible. If we had really met, how could I not have recognized you? The Sword Spirit laughed merrily. Is it really impossible? At that time, I was on a pillar. But you really didn't recognize me. Chu Yang's expression changed when he heard that. Then realization dawned on him. So, it was at that strange place. You, the Sword Spirit suddenly said very seriously, yes. At that time when you went, I was practicing the secret technique with the elders of my clan. At that time, I even especially blinked at you. I thought that with our tacit understanding, you would definitely be able to discover my presence. But, Chu Yang looked embarrassed. Sorry, I really didn't notice. But there were so many dragons and phoenixes blinking at that time. It was really hard to recognize. I really didn't recognize you. The Sword Spirit laughed and said, I'm just joking with you. If you could really recognize me at that time, that would be strange. Okay, let's kill the enemy first. After we are done with the things here, we can talk in detail. We don't have much time then. Chu Yang nodded. Well said. After this battle, what's the harm in talking for 3 days and 3 nights? The Sword Spirit burst out laughing and waved his robes. In the next moment, the Nirvana flame appeared all over the sky. The Nirvana flame could incinerate everything in the world. The Nirvana flame that was released by the Sword Spirit was even more ferocious. In the blink of an eye, a huge path was burnt out. Chu Yang let out a long roar. His body and sword became one as he rushed forward like a rolling hurricane. Under Chu Yang's extreme speed, he flashed past where the core tent of the heavenly demons was at. Swoosh! The 9 tribulations sword directly opened the tent of the heavenly demons like a whirlwind. Commander Bei roared angrily. He jumped up from the throne. Even though the situation was dire, even though the situation was so bad, he was still an emperor. At the end of the day, he was not going to resign himself to death and not put up any resistance. Chu Yang finally saw the enemy's hand. He frowned and stretched out his hand. As he raised his hand, all the air around him seemed to have condensed into a substance. Commander Bei had just jumped up. His whole body was already frozen in the air, unable to move at all. The gap between them was so huge that there was no comparison at all. Chu Yang's next action made Commander Bei even more surprised. He saw a certain minister slap down fiercely. As if he was slapping a mosquito, the heavenly demon emperor was slapped to the ground. Then a foot stepped on the emperor's head. He seemed to ask casually, You are the heavenly demon emperor? Commander and Bei's head was stepped on by Chu Yang's foot. The surrounding space was also tightly sealed. There was no room for struggle. It seemed that he could not even speak. But his eyes shone with extreme humiliation and anger. Chu Yang frowned and looked at the aura around him. He said, "Other than the Heavenly Demon Emperor, there is no other heavenly demon who can have such providence. It seems that it is undoubtedly this guy. How convenient. I didn't expect it to go so smoothly." He stretched out his hand. With a few cracking sounds, he had already crushed all the bones in Commander and Bei's body. Then he pointed a finger at the Emperor's dantian. And Beiqi's body, which was convulsing due to the shattering of all the bones in his body, once again emitted a piu sound as if a pig's urine bubble had burst. His astonishing cultivation base instantly vanished into nothingness. Chu Yang slowly lifted his foot. This heavenly demon emperor was paralyzed on the ground like an earthworm at this moment. He was panting and screaming loudly, but he still couldn't move at all. A red figure flashed and Zi Shiqing also entered. Seeing that the emperor had been captured, she raised the purple cloud's emperor's seal and cried with tears in her eyes, "Father! Mother! Your daughter has avenged all of you today." The purple cloud's emperor's seal came crashing down. His cultivation was destroyed. His body was like a pile of mud. Commander and Bei did not even have the chance to scream before his entire body was smashed into a real pile of mud and meat paste. His remaining spirit was also absorbed by the purple cloud's emperor's seal and instantly turned into pure spiritual energy of the universe. At this point, the highest emperor of the extraterrestrial demons, the emperor of a generation, had completely disappeared from the world. The reason why Chu Yang only shattered his bones and destroyed his cultivation was because he wanted to hand over the job of dealing with this heavenly emperor to Zi Shiqing. Otherwise, with Chu Yang's current strength, he wouldn't have needed to go through so much trouble. That slap was enough to annihilate the heavenly emperor instantly. At the moment when the emperor was killed, Chu Yang and Zi Shiqing actually clearly felt a sense of relief from the purple cloud's emperor's seal. It was as if the purple cloud's spirit in the distance had also felt the death of its life's greatest enemy. It let out a heartfelt sigh of relief. Zi Shiqing could no longer suppress the sadness in her heart. She burst into tears. Chu Yang gently held her in his arms and slowly patted her back. But he also sighed deeply. For this day, how much did the 9 heavens imperial court sacrifice? How much did the fallen purple cloud's heavens suffer? Today's battle seemed extremely easy, but how could the suffering of the past million years be easily erased from the history of the 9 heavens imperial court? It would definitely remain forever. Zi Shiqing lay in Chu Yang's arms. Her heart was filled with inexplicable grief and indignation. She burst into tears to vent the depression in her heart. However, Chu Yang's eyes were still staring closely at the altar in the tent. There was a very strange-looking snake there. That snake had a total of 8 heads, and its long body was currently trembling. Its entire body was not even the size of a palm. It was extremely miniature, but it was definitely not cute or adorable. There were very few creatures that were so small that they were not adorable. But this little snake was not adorable at all. Seeing Chu Yang's sharp gaze, this snake's 16 eyes shone with flattery. Its body trembled as if it was begging for mercy and trying to curry favor. I know you can speak. Chu Yang sneered. If you answer my questions honestly from now on, perhaps you won't have to die. The moment 8 strange serpent heard the words, "won't have to die," it nodded and bowed. It appeared to be extremely obedient. "You are the guardian of this extraterrestrial demon clan?" Chu Yang asked sternly. You flatter me. How would I dare to call myself a god in front of you?" 8 strange serpent was shocked and hurriedly flattered. Its small body nodded and bowed hurriedly. "I knew you wouldn't dare. You're quite obedient." Chu Yang wanted to ask more but suddenly felt dispirited. He said casually, "It's just that there's no use keeping you. Since your extraterrestrial demon clan has already been destroyed as their guardian. How is this little snake a guardian? I'm only willing to serve you for the rest of my life." 8 strange serpent was shocked. Its head touched the ground and kowtowed like it was pounding garlic. Its 8 heads kowtowed together. It was truly a spectacular sight. "I hope you can spare this little snake's dog life. I'm willing to be your dog from now on," Chu Yang said indifferently. "If I really had a dog like you, wouldn't I, Chu Yang, be utterly disgraced from now on?" His voice was filled with murderous intent that was not concealed at all. In front of Chu Yang, 8 strange serpents' murderous intent rose and it shrieked in despair. Suddenly it soared. Turning into a bolt of lightning, it charged outwards. The speed was truly appalling. However, Chuyang reached out his palm. Even though it was clearly not a very fast action, he had already caught it in his hand. 8 strange serpents struggled desperately and reverted to its original form in the air. It was 100,000 feet tall. Boundless violence erupted from the colossal serpent instantly. It wanted to fight for its life. However, Chuyang's palm tightened. The colossal original form that had just formed in the air exploded with a poof, like a balloon bursting, instantly vanishing without a trace. Chuyang was still holding that little snake in his palm. The little snake could revert to its original form with a single thought and fight for its life. Similarly, Chuyang could fix it into its little snake form with a single thought and wait for death. Without waiting for this disgusting fellow to beg for mercy again, a ball of black flame suddenly appeared in Chuyang's palm. He said indifferently, "Even if it's just a corpse, it's still disgusting." With a ting sound, the black flames immediately rose up. 8 strange serpent no longer struggled and was burned to ashes just like that. This guardian deity of the extraterrestrial demons was gone from this world. In Chuyang's hands, it did not even have any leeway to attack. Many of its wondrous techniques, the legendary 8 great mystical abilities and hideous faces did not even have time to reveal themselves before they were already annihilated. Chuyang would not allow such a disgusting fellow to have a chance to fight with him or anything. At this moment, he did not even have the thought of using it to establish his dominance. He finished it off cleanly. Ching-er, the leader of the extraterrestrial demons, is dead. Let's go kill the extraterrestrial demons and end this battle as soon as possible. Chuyang said softly, "Today, let us exterminate all of the extraterrestrial demons and leave them with no chance of survival." Zi Shiqing sobbed and raised her head from his arms, nodding her head with tears in her eyes. The two of them walked out side by side. The battle outside was still in full swing. However, the 9 Heavens Imperial Court's troops, under the joint command of close to 100 peerless experts, had long gained an overwhelming advantage. This was no longer a battle. It was a massacre, a one-sided massacre. The number of extraterrestrial demons was decreasing rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye with every minute and every second. The 9 Heavens Imperial Court's troops, who were still rushing over from all directions, slowly formed an encirclement. No one from the Imperial Court would have the slightest bit of pity for the extraterrestrial demons. Only death. Only destruction. This extremely evil race had troubled the 9 Heavens Imperial Court for more than 1,000,000 years. Today it was finally time for them to pay with their blood. The encirclement had already formed an iron bucket-like encirclement, without any loopholes. The number of survivors of the extraterrestrial demons was actually less than 2 million now. The experts among them had long been slaughtered by everyone. At this moment, Mo Tianji gave an order. All the troops stopped at the same time and even retreated 30 miles back. No one understood the reason behind this. However, with Mo Tianji's next order, everyone understood and no longer had any doubts. Today we shall conquer the purple cloud heavens. We shall use the souls of billions of extraterrestrial demons to worship the departed spirits of the purple cloud heavens. We shall worship the heavenly emperor of the purple cloud heavens, the empress of the purple cloud heavens, and all the heroes of the purple cloud heavens. Mo Tianji's expression was solemn. Today the purple cloud heavens shall regain its glory. Today the extraterrestrial demons shall be exterminated. Please heroes rest in peace. Please heroic spirits smile. Please heroic spirits have no regrets. 3 days later at the celebratory banquet, I shall announce this to the world. I hope the heroes of the purple cloud heavens will not forget to drink a celebratory wine. Mo Tianji faced the heavens and the earth and announced loudly. After this announcement, the heavens and the earth trembled and a fierce wind suddenly blew. It was as if billions of heroic spirits responded with smiles at the same time. For the last battle, I invite the princess of the purple cloud heavens, Zi Shiqing, to lead the survivors of the purple cloud heavens to exterminate the last bloodline of the extraterrestrial demons. To comfort the souls of the heroes in heaven. To announce the return of the purple cloud heavens. Mo Tianji said loudly. Countless survivors of the purple cloud heavens had tears in their eyes. They glared with hatred at the remaining extraterrestrial demons, who were huddled together and trembling, and walked forward resolutely step by step. A total of 50 to 60 peak-level experts released their auras at the same time, suppressing the surviving extraterrestrial demons to the point that they could not move at all. Even their breathing was uneven. No matter their cultivation, they could only be slaughtered. As blood splattered across the sky, countless survivors of the purple cloud heavens had tears in their eyes. They even wailed and waved their swords. Ancestors, do you see this? Today this unfilial descendant has finally avenged you. Purple cloud heavens, we have finally taken it back. We have finally regained our glory. The rest of the people from the imperial court watched this quietly. They could not help but feel inexplicably touched. What did the purple cloud heavens go through in these millions of years? Everyone knew. But no one knew. Today's glory should belong to them and only them. 3 days later. Purple Cloud City. Chu Yang and Zi Sheqing both knelt in front of the tomb of the Purple Cloud Heavenly Emperor and Empress. Please don't worry, I will treat Qing'er well. I will treat her like a treasure and will never let her suffer any grievances. Please don't worry and marry her to me. Chu Yang prayed softly. Father, Mother, I have married Chu Yang. From now on, I am a member of the Chu clan, no longer a daughter of the Zi clan. I can't protect the purple cloud heavens for you. I have to accompany my husband to explore the starry sky. Please understand my choice and bless me. After fighting in the martial world for 3 years, his dream came true. Chapter 27-24. Since I have chosen him in this life, I will accompany him to the ends of the world. In this life, only one person. Even if I have to go through all kinds of hardships, even if I will be heartlessly abandoned in the future, I will never regret it. Father, Mother, I will kowtow to you. Zi Sheqing looked at the tombstone longingly and kowtowed hard. Silly words. Chu Yang held Zi Sheqing's waist gently. I can't wait to dote on you. Why would I let you go through all kinds of hardships, much less abandon you? If you say this, what if the elders in heaven are sad? I'm so wronged. Zi Sheqing rolled her eyes at him, but leaned her soft body gently on him, looking at the tombstone in front of her with misty eyes. Amidst the silence, the windless and cloudless sky started to drizzle without any warning. The drizzles fell on the bodies, faces and skin of Chu Yang and Zi Sheqing. It was already late autumn. However, the drizzle was not cold at all. Instead, it was like the spring rain, silently moisturizing and full of joy. One could only feel the warmth and comfort of spring on their faces and bodies. It was as if that distant spirit was using his true feelings to bless and comfort his daughter and son-in-law. Thank you, Father, Mother. Zi Sheqing's whole body trembled. She kowtowed heavily and sobbed. Thank you, father-in-law, mother-in-law. Chu Yang bowed solemnly. Please rest assured. Not far away, a group of brothers was quietly watching all the movements here. Their eyes were filled with gratitude. Only gratitude. Chu Yang supported Zi Sheqing. The two of them retreated to one side. Shui Leihan's white clothes fluttered. He walked forward and looked at Zi Hao's tombstone. He stared at it for a long time. For a long time he actually couldn't say a word. After a long time, as if struggling, he said, "Brother?" He only said these 2 words and his eyes were already brimming with tears. He choked and couldn't speak. His whole body trembled and he closed his eyes tightly. He looked up at the sky and his lips were tightly shut. 2 clear lines of tears flowed slowly from the corners of his eyes. He gritted his teeth. His cheeks were obviously puffed up. He tried hard to control himself and not cry out loud. He knew that at this moment, one mouth was to cry loudly. It was hard to control himself. But, brother, I'm sure you don't want to see me cry. But I really couldn't help it. After a long while, Shui Leihan suddenly raised his head and let out a long howl. He bellowed loudly, "My brothers?" In the end he couldn't hold it in any longer and burst into tears. The sky was silent and the wind was rustling. At the same time, everyone felt a wave of grief. The 2 brothers whose names shook the world were finally standing together on this day. However, one had already fallen into eternal slumber, while the other was both physically and mentally exhausted. His lofty aspirations were worn down, and he was no longer as lofty as before. Shui Leihan sat in front of the purple cloud tomb in a daze. For half a month he did not speak or move at all, just like a wooden sculpture. Someone at the side suggested that they drink a cup of wine with their former brothers and reminisce about their past. Shui Leihan ignored him. He just sat there quietly, accompanying his brothers and sisters-in-law. We are brothers, so why do we need wine? The hearts of each other, what is there to talk about? I just need to be with him here. Brother, have you been lonely all these years? Yao Xener stood quietly in the distance, accompanying Shui Leihan for half a month. She didn't go forward, didn't speak, and didn't urge him either. She just accompanied him quietly. Mo Qingqing stood even further away, looking at the figures of the demon empress and Dong Huang. She stood there for a long time. After half a month, she finally let out a long sigh and turned to leave in loneliness. So, from the beginning to the end, I never had any hope. In that case, I wish you both happiness. Zihao, I miss you very much too. But it's destined that it won't be my turn today. I'll come and see you again after Shueleihan and the others leave. Shueleihan, I envy you very much too. But I won't fight with you anymore. The Nine Heavens Imperial Court situation was set. The extraterrestrial demons had truly been exterminated. This included those extraterrestrial demons who had already infiltrated the Imperial Court. Under the coverage of the unimaginably huge divine senses of Mo Tianji Ao Shiyun, Xie Danxiong and the others, as well as the unpredictable power of Mo Tianji's Hand of Heavenly Secrets, none of the remaining extraterrestrial demons could escape. In just a few days' time, the remaining extraterrestrial demons were all exterminated. Until now, there was no extraterrestrial demon in the Imperial Court anymore. The entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court was draped in red, cheering and celebrating. It was not only to celebrate the destruction of the extraterrestrial demons, but also to congratulate Minister Qiong Shao on her messed-up wedding. Now that the extraterrestrial demons were exterminated, the troops of the various heavens and earth also began to return. The Nine Tribulations brothers and their big brothers were also nowhere to be found. They didn't even participate in the celebration banquet before they disappeared without a trace. After so many years of suffering, they definitely had to tell Big Brother about it. We don't need any celebration banquet. As long as we brothers can still be together, then every day is a celebration banquet for us. I'm leaving. Half a month later, the sword spirit said goodbye to Chu Yang. You're leaving too? You just came back and you're leaving already? Chu Yang was a little reluctant. I still want. We can still continue to be together and roam the world together. Our original intentions. I believe that there will definitely be a chance to work together again. The sword spirit looked at Chu Yang emotionally. In my life, Chu Yang is the only real brother. I also want to be together with my brother and never be separated. Our original intentions will not change. However, being together is disadvantageous to each other's great Tao. At that time, we will definitely have a chance to meet again. Isn't parting so that we can meet again next time? And we can still meet again at any time. As long as you want or I want. The sword spirit smiled. That's good too. Chu Yang was also someone who could let go. He smiled freely. Since that's the case, when you come again, let's get drunk. The sword spirit smiled. Okay. It's settled then. However, this time, I'm not the only one who's leaving. There's another one that I'm taking away too. His gaze fell on the black fog beside Chu Yang. Divine Spirit of the Tribulation. Come with me. There, you can also truly find your own path. The Divine Spirit of the Tribulation was overjoyed. Really? He looked at Chu Yang and couldn't help but hesitate. I'm also a little reluctant. Chu Yang smiled and said, what's there to be reluctant about? Didn't the two of us say just now? As long as we meet again, we can meet again. I hope that when we meet again, you'll have already found your own path. Alright, after you reconstruct your body. You must come and let me see. Until now, I still don't know what you look like exactly. Amidst the laughter, the sword spirit and the divine spirit of the tribulation stepped out. Before leaving, the sword spirit suddenly turned back and looked at Chu Yang. By the way, I know that in your heart, there's always been something that you can't let go of. Or rather, you can't understand it, or even, it's a sore point. Chu Yang nodded. I also understand. The sword spirit said, that person asked me to pass on a message to you. Chu Yang asked, what message? The sword spirit said, that person asked me to tell you. That's your son. It's just that your son is really very impressive. After saying that, the sword spirit laughed loudly. Without waiting for Chu Yang's reply, he had already left with the divine spirit of the tribulation. In midair, a golden phoenix spread its wings. The ninefold phoenix cry was incomparably clear and melodious. In an instant, there was a flash of brilliance all over the sky. A certain sword had already disappeared. Chu Yang was stunned. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So that person also has times when he miscalculates. He thought that what I cared about was this matter. To be honest, I've never taken this matter seriously. That's my son, what's there to be suspicious about? Sai, what I've always been thinking about is actually something else. It was a pity that the sword spirit had already left. Chu Yang could only let out a long sigh. He wanted to ask, but there was nothing he could do. One really shouldn't be too pretentious. He had originally wanted to connect their thoughts and appreciate each other so that they could solve the problem directly. He didn't expect that in the end he would be lost and confused. What should be solved was not solved, and what should have been solved long ago was solved in hindsight. What the hell was this called? It was really as depressing as being trampled by countless grass-mud horses. There were hundreds of things to be done in the entire purple cloud heavens. It was in the midst of reconstruction. Almost the entire fairy race was here to help with the reconstruction. Even a rare item like the Spring of Life was used as if it didn't cost them anything. For more than 1,000,000 years, purple cloud heavens could be said to have been devastated. The geology was even more severely damaged. Without a divine item like the Spring of Life, it was really difficult to recover. But with the great help of the fairy race and the abundant Spring of Life, the entire purple cloud heavens slowly became green and full of vitality. However, during this period of time, Chu Yang and the others had nothing to do. Apart from drinking every day, they played around and played to their heart's content. Playing was playing, but how could one really enjoy themselves to the fullest without a beautiful woman by their side? Zi Xiecheng and Mo Qingwu were different from a certain minister. They were so busy that their feet didn't touch the ground. They couldn't be seen every day. This situation made Minister Chu's heart filled with displeasure. What was this? Ever since I got married, I've almost never been with my wife. Before we got married, we could still occasionally hold hands and hug each other's waists. But now we can't even see each other. Finally this day, the fairy race told Zi Xiecheng that the Spring of Life they brought had been used up. If they wanted to continue the reconstruction project, they had to send someone back to the fairy forest. How far would it be to make a trip back to the fairy forest? How long would it take? How could Zi Xiecheng, who was racing against time to rebuild purple cloud heavens, wait? In a hurry, Zi Xiecheng and Mo Qingwu rushed to find Chu Yang. Tell me, why is the Spring of Life gone? What's going on? Is it because of you, Fairy Emperor? Zi Xiecheng frowned and complained coquettishly. Her voice and expression were stern, as if she was denouncing him. I can't see my wife after I got married. I haven't even asked what's going on and you're already denouncing me and being so aggressive. How can I reason with you? Minister Chu snorted and said, Come, my wife, accompany your husband first. Let's talk about other things after we settle the most important things. Zi Xiecheng couldn't help but feel angry when she saw that someone was so mischievous. What kind of person was Big Sister Zi? She was a ruthless character who would attack anyone who said something wrong. Without another word, she would leave everything behind. But in the next moment, she suddenly felt darkness in front of her. When it lit up again, she found herself in Chu Yang's 9 tribulation space against her will. With Minister Chu's current cultivation, he could easily dominate over his 4 wives. Although the 2 women also had a terrifying cultivation above the peak, they were still caught by him before they could even resist. What are you doing? Don't mess around. I'm going to scream. Zi Xiecheng blushed and stomped her feet. She said angrily, We're still waiting outside to use the Spring of Life. Quick. Before she finished speaking, Chu Yang had already covered her mouth with his lips. The man's voice said, What are you screaming for? I'll see how you're going to scream. Silly girl, how can the Spring of Life be gone? I'm the one who made them lie to you. Now they're working hard outside, we need to do some work too. Work hard. Zi Xiecheng's face was red. Mo Qingwu covered her face with her hands and only felt that her whole body was burning. You bastard. Zi Xiecheng's whole body went limp. She was powerless to resist and her face seemed to be on fire. Bastards are bastards. Minister Chu said shamelessly, I'm not only a bastard, I'm also a hooligan. I'm playing hooligan to you. What about it? Scream, scream. Even if you scream until your throat is hoarse, no one will care about you. It's reasonable and legal for us to play hooligan to you? Zi Xiecheng moaned, but she didn't know which sensitive part of her body was touched. Her whole body went limp. Mo Qingwu was shocked to see this. She turned and fled, wanting to get away from the trouble. She said in a panic, It's so busy over there, I have to go out and supervise. But she was caught by Chu Yang. He snorted and said, What are you busy with? How can it be more important than here? Little girl, don't even think about running. During this period of time, the 2 of you have discussed to avoid me. Do you think I don't know? If I don't teach you a lesson today, how can I still have any dignity as the head of the Chu clan? Beauty, this big pervert is coming. Then there was a coquettish struggle and then, cough cough. I'll omit 8 million words here. It was indeed 8 million words. A certain someone was really strong now. His thing was also very strong. And he had held it in for so long. If he really wanted to describe it, 8 million words would be a small number. The 9 Heavens Imperial Court was still the 9 Heavens Imperial Court. But the reign of the various great emperors became a short 50 years. In these 50 years, the 9 Heavens Imperial Court developed rapidly. Even Purple Cloud Heavens, which used to be a barren land, had now become a lot more prosperous with cities and towns. On this day, Minister Chu Yang felt something and suddenly gathered all his brothers for a meeting. After the meeting on the same day, Great Emperor Wuxiang, Great Emperor Du Xing, Great Emperor Qianghua, Great Emperor Divine Dragon, Great Emperor Heavenly Mystery, and so on. They all announced their resignation from the position of Heavenly Emperor and gave it to others. Then, these dozen or so people disappeared from the Nine Heavens Imperial Court at the same time. Their wives, children and all their family members disappeared along with them. Don't doubt it. It had been more than 50 years. No one knew where they had gone at all. Someone went to the valley where the East Sovereign and the Demon Empress lived in seclusion, hoping to find out what had happened. But even these two immortal couples didn't know where Minister Chu and the rest had gone. Chu Yang, Zi Sheqing Mo Qingwu, Tai Budian, Wu Chanshan, Gu Duxing, Gu Miaoling Mo Tianji, Chu Le, Dong Wushang Mo Le, Tan Tan, Xia Danfeng Gmo Huyan Albua Luo Kadi Xinyang, Xia Danqiong Madame Maio Xiun. No one ever saw the figures of these legendary figures again. The entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court started to write books and write biographies, praising their achievements. Then, with the continuous gathering of information and the deliberate leaking of some information from the past by the Heavenly Mystery Intelligence Department, the world finally started to understand the details of these legendary figures from various aspects. It turned out that these great emperors and Minister Chu, turned out, they were indeed legendary. They were indeed legendary. They were practically legends. Everyone who knew about their life stories all said the same thing without exception. In the Nine Heavens Imperial Court, an entire mountain range was tempered by the combined efforts of 300 Saint Peak-level experts to become a towering yet indestructible stone tablet. If one wanted to destroy this stone tablet, one had to have a strength that exceeded the combined strength of 300 Saint Peak-level experts. And such a person was destined to never appear in this world. The name of this stone tablet was Words of the Minister. In Minister Chu's life, the words he said were all collected by people and some of the classic sentences were selected. They were carved on it for future generations to worship. And in the process of collecting, everyone who saw this stone tablet felt from the bottom of their hearts that in the legend of Minister Chu's life, there were two words that were most important and most indispensable. Brother? What is a brother? A brother is nothing. A brother is a brother. I hope, when I'm at my peak, my brother is also there. I won't be lonely. I also hope, when my brother is at his peak, I won't let him be lonely. No matter how high my brother and I go, we won't be lonely at the top. I hope to fight for a lifetime of glory with my brother. To become a legend through the ages. I even hope that thousands of years later, we can become legends. If we can become legends, I hope that you will be part of my legend. If you become a legend, then I hope that I will be part of your legend. Because we are brothers. We will never let down the word brother. We will never let down the word brother. After another few decades, Chu Yang and the rest secretly returned to the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. Other than meeting up with their close friends, no one else knew. The heroes of the past had actually returned to this land. But all those who were related to Minister Chu and these great emperors, however, after they returned this time, they all disappeared without a trace. Well, probably not all of them. Because there was still one person who hadn't disappeared. But now no one knew that there was such a person. The only exception. Until a few years later, there was another turmoil in the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. When a doomsday catastrophe swept across the world, there was finally one person who stepped forward and averted the catastrophe. He quelled the catastrophe in the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. And this person, with indisputable strength, stepped onto the position that no one else other than Minister Chu had been able to take, the position of minister. It was only then that everyone knew that this new Iron Minister was actually Minister Chu's son. Time passed by slowly and without a trace. In the blink of an eye, many years had already passed. In the vast universe, Chu Yang and the others had become travelers in time and space. Sometimes they would gather together and sometimes they would disperse and do their own things. If they missed each other, they just needed to send a thought to each other and everyone would gather again. To everyone this was a very easy thing. And in this long period of time, everyone's cultivation also gradually increased, gradually reaching a kind of realm that even cultivators couldn't understand. But Chu Yang and the rest still believed in one sentence. The Great Tao has no end. We only need to move forward. Keep moving forward. We don't need to think about our own goals. A realm that we can't understand doesn't mean that our predecessors can't understand it, and it doesn't mean that future generations can't understand it either. Until one day when Mo Qingwu was traveling, she accidentally got into a battle with a mysterious monster. Jianghu Dream's saber slashed casually and actually chopped down hundreds of stars in the sky. It was only then that everyone truly realized what kind of realm their cultivation had reached. Another day, Chuyang brought his wives to a planet that they had never been to before. It was a blue planet. It was picturesque. Chuyang had never been here before, but he inexplicably felt that this place was very familiar, as if this was his home, that kind of feeling. So he decided to stay here. He stayed there for several decades. Until one day, Chuyang, who was fishing by the seaside, suddenly felt a strange fluctuation. When he turned his head to look, he saw a young man in white standing behind him. He squinted his eyes and said, "Hey kid, do you want to fight with me?" This guy who had suddenly arrived was tall and handsome. It could be said that he was a rare handsome man in the world. However, his face was full of evil aura and his whole body was full of evil aura. He was overflowing with a sense of lawlessness and unbridled arrogance from the inside out. Chuyang didn't hesitate, nor was he surprised. He smiled calmly and slowly pulled out his sword. "I've been waiting for this battle for a long time. I've also been waiting for you for a long time." The young man in white laughed wildly and said, "Since you've been waiting for a long time, then what are you waiting for? Come, let me teach you a lesson. Let's fight in the sky, and I'll let you know that there's always someone better than you. There's always someone better than you." Before he finished speaking, the two had already gone up to the 9 heavens. Chuyang drew his sword and said, "Please?" Chuyang really didn't know how many years it had been since the 9 Tribulation Sword appeared again. The long-lost 9 Tribulation Sword reappeared in the world. But before the 9 Tribulation Sword reappeared, strictly speaking, before Chuyang finished speaking, the young man in white had already attacked. The white-robed youth had already launched an attack. It was actually a sneak attack. Chuyang somersaulted out and said angrily, "Damn it. A cultivator at your level actually dares to use sneak attacks. Don't you have any shame?" This was really unimaginable. This fellow's cultivation was clearly unfathomable, and he had fought him head-on. He faced him head-on and lost more than he won. Such a powerful guy actually used a sneak attack on him? This world was really big and there were all kinds of strange things. There was really nothing that couldn't be thought of. Tisk, whenever I can save some energy, I'll save some energy. The young man in white didn't have the slightest bit of embarrassment on his face. He said with an evil aura, "In this world there's only one thing that's the most important. Do you know what it is?" Chuyang asked, "What is it?" "Damn it. You sneak attacked again." With a pu sound, his butt was actually kicked. It turned out that this guy deliberately used words to attract Chuyang's attention. However, another sneak attack came. A doppelganger kicked Chuyang's buttocks from behind at lightning speed. This kick was really ruthless. It directly kicked Chuyang tens of thousands of miles away. It had been too long. Chuyang had been invincible for too long. It had really been too long since he was in such a sorry state. While he was still tossing and turning, the young man in white had already caught up. He laughed and said, "The most important thing is, I want to have fun." Even though Chuyang's self-cultivation had reached the point where he wouldn't be moved even if the universe was destroyed in front of him, he couldn't help but be speechless at this moment. He grimaced and said, "Since that's the case, let's officially start fighting." As he spoke, he clapped his hands and said, "Brothers, let's attack together. Beat this guy up. Beat him up with all your might." At his command, Gu Duxing Dong Wushang Tan Tan Mo Tianji Xia Danxiong Ao Shiyun Gmo Rui Badong. A large group of people suddenly flashed out of the void. All of them, from top to bottom, started to surround and attack without even saying a word. No, they were ganging up on him. Seeing this, the young man in white didn't turn pale with fright. He shouted, "What the fuck? Chuyang, you're really not kind. You keep blaming me for sneak attacks, but you actually set up a powerful ambush here yourself. Do you still have any shame?" Chuyang smiled and said, "In this world the most important thing is, I want to have fun." Hearing this, the young man in white was stunned for a moment. Then he burst into laughter. "You're a fast learner. You're impressive." He raised his head and a domineering aura suddenly erupted from his body. He raised his head and said arrogantly, "Chuyang, remember this. I am Wuxia." This kind of aura that surpassed both ancient and modern times caused everyone's hearts to tremble. In their long lives they had never seen a second person with this kind of aura. For a moment, they were all stunned by his aura and couldn't attack at all. Right at this moment, a person chuckled and suddenly appeared in front of Wuxia in a flash. He suddenly exclaimed with a face full of shock, Wuxia was also surprised. He asked, "What's wrong?" That person asked in shock. "Do you think I'm handsome?" Wuxia was stunned. "What?" Tan Tan continued to persevere and persistently asked, "Look at me. Don't I look too handsome?" Wuxia frowned and said angrily, "Go away." Tan Tan continued to ask in shock, "Do you think I'm handsome? Am I handsome? Do you honestly think I'm handsome? Am I very handsome? Say something. Do you think I'm handsome?" Wuxia's brows twitched, and in that instant he was actually a little confused. Chu Yang and the rest instantly swayed. This guy Tan Tan has unexpectedly broken the deadlock at this critical moment. It didn't take long for Tan Tan to make trouble for no reason. He had asked 300 to 400 random questions. Am I handsome or not? Do you honestly think I'm handsome or not? Touch your own chest. Do you think I'm handsome or not? Wuxia was stunned for a moment. Then he raised his head and sighed. Oh my God! In that instant the evil monarch of this generation, the undefeated evil monarch, was actually unable to do anything to this shameless person. Tan Tan was still prattling on. Do you think I'm handsome or not? Wait a minute. You can fight with us, but you have to make it clear first. Am I handsome or not? Don't run. Am I handsome or not? Am I more handsome than before? Say something. Don't run. Stop. Stop right there for me. The end of the book. 3 years of pride with tears in my smile. 3 years of pride side by side. I don't know what to say. It's 3 in the morning. After typing the last ellipsis, my heart seems to have suddenly become empty. I love pride. I love every character in pride. I can't bear to end it. After typing the words "the end of the book," I even have a strong urge to erase these words and continue writing. Write another million, another 5 million, another 8 million. Really, my emotions are in a mess. The moment I finished writing, I stretched out my leg and the thermos beside me exploded. I didn't burn myself, but I didn't move. I just sat there, thinking I still want to explode. I still want to snatch votes. Minister Chu is still Minister Chu. Mo Tianji is still Mo Tianji. Mo Qingwu is still Mo Qingwu. I'll rest for a few days before writing this. My emotions are in a mess right now and it's very uncomfortable. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.